Hi everybody, Russ from My Hammers 11. Hope you're all safe and well. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, hitting the bell icon so you're made of any time we put new content on. As always, we'd like to thank our channel sponsors, Untuck It. Check them out in the description below. Today's guest, I think, is the furthest from the furthest from Hornchurch I've been to on this journey so far. That's for sure. It's my eyes are a bit red because it's quite late at night here, and it's very early in the morning over there. But it's Angus Waters. How are we doing? How you doing, man? You all right?
I'm good, thank you, Ross. Yourself?
I'm not too bad, thank you. Not too bad. We're
Good.
Filming this Friday night UK time, so Saturday morning in Perth. Was it about 7 o'clock out in Perth?
It is. It's literally just about to tick over 7. So up early, ready to go. Perfect start to the day.
That's good. Well, you've got no West Ham, so you've got no late night, 4 o'clock in the morning watch alongs to do, at least this weekend.
Exactly.
Although the Stockport game, if you didn't do that, that's going to be quite a tough one for you guys.
It's going to be at 4 a.m. again, so don't think my parents will be too happy, but what can you do?
Yeah, you just need to invest in some good soundproofing for the bedroom, which isn't a bad thing for later life, really, to be honest, thinking about it, get further down the line. But yeah. And it's, I think we spoke this afternoon, and it was about something ridiculous, like 40 degrees there at the moment, isn't it? So
it is. It was 42 yesterday. So one of those days where I think we'd probably both settle for middle ground. I know I would. I'd have a 20-degree day over this at the moment. So it's a bit ridiculous, to be fair. But what can you do?
We'd have a 20-degree day. It's at the time of recording. I think it's about, it's bloody cold. I know that is today. What will be 1 degrees probably? Yeah, one could go to minus what? It could be anything between 1 and minus. No, it is 0. It is 0.
Mental.
0 degrees. Isn't it crazy how the world is considering just one bits of, I haven't had a drink or anything, but considering it's one country, one sort of big, world, how the time it's just 40 degrees there. It's other side of the world it's 0. It's
yeah, and yet here we are talking to each other.
Exactly, and here we are talking to you about West Ham. That's what I mean. This funny little club in East London, joining so many different people. But the boys are doing all right at the moment, aren't they? All things considering.
We are. I mean, if you asked, you told me that we're sitting 10th at the start of the season, I would have taken that over anything. Because to be honest, I think most of us were quite worried about how most of this season was going to unfold. Obviously, lost a couple of star players. Dan Garner, obviously not great to see him go. So yeah, perfect. And especially if you told me that Arsenal was sitting below West Ham at this stage in the season, I would have bitten your hand off for this.
Funny old season. It's one of those funny old seasons. You get them every sort of 4 or 5 seasons. It's obviously the last one would have been probably the last one at the Bowl-in when Leicester won the league.
Yeah.
And so we've had a bit of normality, and now this one's just thrown everything into the mixer. But yes. And obviously soon we've got the old boys returning, haven't we? West Brom, Snoddy, Ian Garner, and Big Sam.
We do. Yeah, I think with Snoddy going over there now, I think I'm starting to think, boy, it would be fitting if they came and beat us with Big Sam, Grady, Snods. So yeah, should be interesting.
It's weird, isn't it, when that always happens? We had like even when we speak to ex-players and they've moved from one club to West Ham, I think it was David Cross, and when he moved to West Ham, he was playing, I think it was West Brom. He was playing West Brom that the first game he joined us, and so it must be weird. Like Snoddy probably his first proper game. Well, we might play the cup or whatever, but will possibly be the West Ham game, and it's just it's fun, isn't it? How it all pans out. But no, good luck to Snoddy. Big
Definitely,
fan of
100%.
Yeah. It's one of those things as well, thinking about it retrospectively afterwards. It's a shame he's gone, but it frees up a bit of wages, I think. And if it means that we can give one of the kids a bit of his place on the bench or whatever, then I'm all for that.
100%.
Because, he's coming to the end, bless him. But no, and apart from that, you've got Stockport in the cup. I'm feeling quite confident actually. For a long time.
That should be a great game to watch as well. Hopefully, maybe we see a bit of Odobeku, and just one of those games where hopefully we can sit back and enjoy 90 minutes of football, knowing that it should be relatively easy to get a win against a non-league team. Knowing West Ham, though, we'll either take it to penalties or lose that game. So we'll see.
Yeah, or we'll ground in a 1-0 victory.
Yeah.
Like the 78th minute or something. We'll score and
Exactly.
be like, it'll come off someone's arse or something like that. It'd be a real sort of
Yeah.
like scrappy goal. He's like, yeah, it's Premier League class for us. No, but it's a different team now. It's a different team. It's a different West Ham. That's the way I look at it now.
Yeah, it is 100%. I think David Moyes, full credit to him. The signings that he's brought in as well, in particular Vladimir Soufal, and if you think about someone like Thomas Souček as well, they're both almost Mr. Consistence. They put in that hard work, and you know what you're going to get from them week in, week out. And I think that really helps. We've been begging for consistency over the course of the last couple of seasons, because it's very West Ham like to go and beat Arsenal and then lose to a Hull or a West Brom the next week. So to go and be putting in consistent performances and then to be getting somewhat of consistent results, I think is a great change. And
exactly.
Full credit to David Moyes.
Yeah, totally. And obviously Thomas is up for the Player of the Month for December, and too right. You know what I mean? He probably won't win because he plays for West Ham and it's not a glamorous club. But good on him, And I think he put a little thing on Twitter saying, where if I could be one, because he's only been here, a little over a year now, isn't it? Really? Yeah. January transfer window we got him last year. So, it's just, as you said, it's consistency, and you know what you're going to get. You're right. It's they're like Ron Seal. It's written on the tin, and it's just it's an exciting time to be a West Ham fan, particularly for me. Seeing lots of these sort of eras. I think eras of managers, eras of players, and this one's a really exciting one because it's a bit like the old days where they played a bit like with a team. There was a team ethic. There weren't 11 individuals, 11 good players, but they just couldn't play together. This one's a team, and you can see that in what they in how they play, in how all those little behind the scenes vignettes the club does as well. They seem to be a good atmosphere there, and it's nice. It's nice to see that. We'll just hopefully whoever they bring in January, if they do, just doesn't upset the apple cart.
I mean, you said it yourself in terms of the league as well. It's one of those perfect seasons where you win a couple of games on the bounce, and we could find ourselves in that top 4, top 6. I think it's incredibly close. I think Leicester, Tottenham on the same amount of points. You've got United and Liverpool on the same amount of points. So really the gap to that top 4 isn't a lot, and it's incredibly tight with us at the moment. Looking up the table, I think we're on par with 5 other teams or 4 other teams. So we just need a couple of results to snatch a really good Europe spot at the end of the season. But obviously a lot of if buts and maybes in there, and we'll just have to wait and see.
We'll have to wait and see. And that's, I mean, if the season finished tomorrow and we finished 10th, I'll be chuffed based on, the last few seasons where it's been a bit squeaky bum time. As soon as we get that, it's funny. I said it before, at West Hamness in us, we're 26 points, we're 10th. And the first thing someone says will be like 14 points to go. It's not 14 points. It's half a season. See how far we can go. But it's that first landmark, that first sort of like, that gets that point, the 40 points, and then we can look up and see where we can finish. But it's all good, man. And I think, it's just, it's just one of those things, isn't it? Obviously, no fans around typically, and the team are playing well. But look, I think for a lot of people, if there's no fans there, and as long as the team are doing well, they're all right. I'm all right with that. Do you know what I mean? I'm all right if no fans being there for the team. Last time they were in there, we lost 3-1. So, it's a typical West Ham thing. But let's get that 40 points. Let's have a good cup run, and I think I'll be happy in the season. I'll do a couple of 10th positions for the next couple of seasons just to build stuff.
Again, the cup run as well. A great potentially, good cup run. You think about the Villa Liverpool game is up in the air, and I think you'll find a lot of teams will struggle with COVID related stuff, and the potential is that many teams will put out under 18s, under 23 sides if they're struggling. So obviously our squad is it's not the biggest thing, and we're losing numbers at the moment. Let's hope we can invest and get something in this month. But we do have a good second side as well. You think about some of the quality on the bench, so we could put out a very decent team and go a long way in the FA Cup.
Yeah.
So let's just wait and see how we can do.
I mean, the boys did well, in the Carabao Cup, the first couple of rounds. Hull and Charlton, putting very good performances against those two teams. They had a guy. We had a guy up front called I don't remember his name, was Sebastian Halla. He scored a few goals, I think. I don't know what happened to him.
He's the one that plays for Ajax now, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he moved to Ajax. Yeah. I think it was Ajax's record signing, I think, or something like that. Mentally,
wow.
I don't know what happened to him, but anyway. But no, I think I agree. I think it's one of those things where I think any team that takes it half seriously this season, the FA Cup, they're going to go very far because, as you say, it's a funny old season. The FA have already said if you can't put a team out, you're out. So you're going to have like tonight, as you said, we had the Villa Liverpool game. It was 4-1 to Liverpool, and they didn't break a stride, to be honest. And it was full of like 20. I think even the under-23 coach was the manager, took the side instead of Dean Smith. So it's all a bit crazy, but yeah, the team that has a go and really tries is going to be really make a big effort. But apart from West Ham, Angus, how are you? How is everything over there in this crazy world we live in at the moment for you?
I'm good. And to be fair, where I live in Perth, Western Australia, we've had a really good COVID run. We're in lockdown a tiny bit in probably April, June, and we've really escaped the brunt of it for now.
Yeah.
I think the rest of Australia has had it quite tough. Obviously not as tough as the UK and America and the likes, but I think Melbourne kind of went through a second phase where they were in lockdown. Brisbane now, they had a case yesterday and they've announced a 3-day lockdown. So it's one of those things where we're doing well at the moment, and it's quite easy for me to go and live my normal life. I mean, clubs are back up and running. They've been up and running for ages now. And so, with the exception of social distancing here and there, we've got it virtually back to normal. But all it takes is one case. We've still got a hard border. My dad's a pilot, so it's frustrating for him at times. But happy for now.
Yeah, and I think actually the way Australia and New Zealand, I think, have both dealt with it is, hard borders. It was as soon as a handful of cases really came up, that was it. Shutters were shut. That thing where, I think others, particularly Europe and obviously the UK and the US, it was a little bit less. It was until they got up to a certain number. By then, it already migrated, and so it was actually the Australian way of handling it and the New Zealand way of handling it seems to have at least curtailed it a little bit, considering other countries. But no, my friend, she lives in New Zealand at the moment. She moved back, and she's like living a normal life, really. And it's fucking hell, typical, absolutely typical. But 42 degrees or 40 degrees, and not having to wear a mask everywhere, which is fantastic. But it's what it is, isn't it? It's what it is. Everyone has it differently. Everyone has it differently, don't we? I mean, we don't get the bushfires here,
exactly.
So
we
never take it away. So
2020 altogether, I think for majority of people, regardless of where you live, was a bit of a shocker. Obviously, to be fair, the bushfires thing, someone brought it up with me a couple of weeks ago, and I was actually in Melbourne and Victoria when it was starting up and it was getting quite serious, and I don't even remember that, to be fair, just because of the year that it's been.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it feels absolutely ages ago. But if you think about that and you think about the rest of the way that the year's panned out, obviously not ideal. And it's looking like the first 6 months of this year will be quite tough for many, but let's just hope that we get out of it together and happy.
I think so. I think in the UK, I've got. I think by Easter, I think things will have some not back to normal, because I don't think you're ever going to be back to normal. I think normal is going to be how we live in going forward. We'll never get back to where we were before, because I just think it will take too long to get that. But I think Easter time it'll be all right. We get very deep at these things sometimes in these episodes. But why not? Because everyone's thinking about it. It's everyone's mind and everything. But although 2020 weren't a bad year for West Ham. Hasn't been a bad year for West Ham. So
Definitely not. Yeah,
they've kept
definitely
us
not.
entertained, haven't they? Could you imagine if West Ham had an absolute shit season at the moment and everything else that's going on, Twitter would implode, the West Ham way and all West Ham fan TV and and Irons United and all, they'd be imploding, wouldn't they? They'd be imploding with depression
Yeah.
and loads of people slagging everyone off. But at least West Ham are keeping a sort of some sort of sanity.
I mean, yeah, just very quickly, you think about a team like Sheffield United.
Yeah,
Last time there were fans at Bramall Lane, they were absolutely flying in the league, and it looks like the next time that there'll be fans at Bramall Lane, they'll be in the Championship.
yeah,
So it's just one of those things where you count your lucky stars in terms of West Ham and the run that we had at the end of last season, and thankfully we're flying now as well. So
very true.
definitely a positive.
Same
It's
as Bournemouth.
very West Ham. It's very West Ham to almost add to the woes, but
Yes.
it seems like if anything, they're the positive light at the moment. So
Yeah,
I'll
it's
take it
very
for
true.
sure.
It's very true. I mean, it's like Bournemouth fans. It's like West Brom fans. West Brom fans could quite easily see themselves, being promoted and relegated, and never seen any of that this season. Yeah, they probably
Yeah,
won't see any of that this season.
yeah,
Absolutely mental.
exactly.
It's mental when you think about it. And I still have this, and I haven't done the maths, and I should do the maths. That the league positions are, at the moment, there's a sort of one of the big variables is stadiums. That's my view. And that's why the
Interesting.
league's so like it is at the moment. So you look at the teams at the bottom, as you said, we always said West Brom, we said Sheffield United, Burnley, Brighton, Fulham, all sort of very tight ground. Maybe not Brighton, but still like a tightish ground. All very, we're
Yeah,
used to having the fans, and the fans play that sort of 12-man role. Everyone near the top, Tottenham, Leicester, massive stadiums. So does make a difference. They're not used to
100%.
that intimidating factor, and so no, I think there's something in that for sure. But no, it is what it is. Anyway. First question, 17 minutes into the interview. I'm getting a bit better with that, actually, to be honest. First question is, now I'm not detecting a Cockney twang in your accent, Angus, and also we're dialing in from Perth. So why the hell are you a West Ham fan?
So, bit of a probably not the traditional story. I mean, it doesn't run in my family or anything. I've always been a football fan. I think my parents and my family altogether definitely aren't football fans, but I've got a bit of Danish heritage in me. My grandmother's Danish, and that probably brought in football from quite a young age. And it was just a soccer ball kicking around in the backyard, and went and started playing at a young age. And so I've always loved the Premier League. I've always watched. I've always loved following football in general. West Ham, when I moved to Perth in high school, so at the start of high school, it would have been 6-7 years ago. Made friends with the likes of football fans, and you get a lot of Arsenal's, Chelsea's, Man United's.
Sure.
My two best friends are Arsenal fans and Man United fans. So, it's one of those things where they're not the ones to wake up at 4 a.m. or whatever and support their team, and they'll just take the win. They'll wake up, they'll check the result and run with it. And it sort of got me all worked up, seeing the run that they have, and it always seems to be happy days for them. So I decided that I was going to really get into it and pick a club. And so some of the influences in my life at the time were the likes of Spencer Owen and all West Ham fans. Jack Mate, West Ham fan. And so, I can't exactly remember the point where I picked West Ham,
Yeah.
but, it's perfect. London, underdog team, someone that I just naturally kind of picked up quite a strong liking to. So at the start of it was probably the second last season at the Bowl-in, halfway through the season, I started watching. Not exactly, wholeheartedly. I was watching games here and there.
Yeah.
And then the start of the 15-16 campaign, I don't think I've missed a Premier League game since then, with the exception of school camp. So, I've been watching, I've been everywhere from Melbourne to New York following along, and it's been a great run. And it provides that great conversation with my friends. And yeah, sure enough, after 6 months, a year with the community on Twitter and whatnot, I really became immersed in it. And I'm a massive West Ham fan. It's a massive part of my life. And I live, breathe West Ham.
Yeah. It's brilliant, man. That's brilliant. No, I love it. And that's why I love like doing this, because everyone has a slightly different story. And yeah, for some people it is the traditional. Oh, my dad was a West Ham fan. I became a West Ham. But for someone like yourself, and actually, it's a similar story in some respects to talk to other foreign fans in terms of the guys that are like the Fresno Irons, or I don't know, the Indian Hammers and stuff like that, where literally they've picked West Ham is the team they've picked, and it's like, really, like, come on, you picked West Ham. I mean, your poor Arsenal and Man United friends. I mean, God, when they're like moaning that they were fifth, that Arsenal were like 15th in the league, we were like, oh my God, I'd beat your hand off for being 15th.
Perfect. I was absolutely loving it.
Oh,
Yeah.
brilliant. It's so funny. And as you said, watching Arsenal fan TV implode is just hilarious and stuff. But no, it's just a great, as you said, obviously Spence and obviously Jack's on being on the channel, and he pops in the live streams occasionally, so you make sure everyone watches them. God bless him. But no, it's lovely to see how the influence of people like that has drawn you into West Ham, and obviously then once you're in, aren't you? Really, as you said, you get into this Twitter bubble and the YouTube bubble, and obviously you do the watch-alongs with Corey and stuff on the West Ham way, which in itself is an accolade for you, because, as you said, get up at 4:30 in the morning and then having to sit in front of a screen and watch West Ham, let alone just on your Todd, but actually watching it with a few hundred people there is it's not the easiest thing to do, let alone when it's normal time, let alone silly o'clock in the morning for you, and consider your parents around, so you can't get too enthusiastic because you wake them up, they won't be too happy with you.
It's one of those things, though, very quickly, like you said, as soon as you're immersed. So in particular, the start of the 15-16 campaign, that watching West Ham, I remember watching my first game on TV here. We had it for the season. It was on Foxtel in Australia, which is a kind of subscription set top box that we have, the equivalent of, I would imagine, BT. So we had it for the year, and I watched every game, and the first game against Arsenal at the Emirates, where we went and beat them 2-0 with Mauro and Kouyaté, that was it for me. That was, as soon as I watched that game, I was a West Ham fan. Another thing to mention as well, I loved the colours as well. Claret and blue always stood out to me. That away kit that year as well was one of my all-time favourites. But yeah, as soon as that happened, I was a West Ham fan, and the incredibly special atmosphere of that last season at the Boleyn as well just drew me in straight away. And yeah, West Ham fan for life now.
And you're right, the colours as well. It's funny. We had and actually this will go out after we've interviewed him. So we interviewed Paul Mcginley, the Ryder Cup captain, the 2014 Ryder Cup captain, and he's won it loads of times himself as a player. But I asked him, because he's Irish, and I was like, why West Ham? And for him, it was the first game he saw was the 1975 Cup final, and it was Fulham against West Ham. But it was the first game he saw in colour. And obviously Fulham were in white and West Ham were in claret and blue. So it was like, I saw that one because it's in colour, and it's just like, then that's sort of, what is it, God, like 40, 50 years on, it's crazy when like little things like that. Or someone I've interviewed, they said, I think it might have been Jack's dad, actually. When interviewed Jack's dad, he said it was a 1980 FA Cup final, and he looked up and he said, I'll support that one. And it was West Ham. And then that sort of started his West Ham career, and then Jack obviously as well.
His whole family,
and it's funny, and like now, when you have kids, and you probably pass on the disease as 100%. Well to them.
Exactly, yeah.
And that's the way it works. But no, it's lovely, man. It's lovely to hear different stories, and that's and also it's nice to have someone on the channel who's a relatively, inexperienced fan. We'll say that, an experienced West Ham fan. I mean, you've seen the highs and lows already, but you haven't been like worn down.
Exactly, yeah.
So many years of woe.
I mean, regardless, I'd be following West Ham, obviously, but and you pick up on the stories as well. I've become well equipped with the knowledge of the last couple of decades. But yeah, exactly. All my memories have come from the last 6-7 years, and that'll be reflected in my team today ultimately. But yeah, it's it's my best memories of West Ham have been over the last 6-7 years.
Yeah.
And that last season at the Bowling in particular, just such a special memory. And it being my first season, I thought was quite unique.
Yeah, definitely very unique. And as you said, with someone like Dennis around with the West Ham way,
I was waiting for when he was going to get a mention.
He gets a mention every time now. I interview someone from the West Ham way because, an hour and 40 minutes. I mean, you haven't had your breakfast yet, mate. I don't. It's not going to be an hour and 40 minutes this one today. But yes, he would help you with your education of West Ham. That's for sure.
He does, yeah, for
God
sure.
bless him. Yes, and that's what I love. There's like that cross section. You get some really old experienced fans. You get some fans like Dennis who are really sort of clued up in that, just like the stats and things like that, and you get guys like yourselves who are relatively new to West Ham, and it's just this lovely crowd because it means everyone's got different opinions and stuff, and no one's right, no one's wrong. Football is about opinions, and if someone says one thing, I said on Twitter or when you're doing your watch-alongs, you'll say something, and someone will make a comment and disagree with you. That's all about football, and I think that's great because I love the fact that there's no right or wrong. Even with VAR, there doesn't seem to be a right or wrong answer. So it's all part and parcel of why people love football, really, isn't it?
Because that is it. That is supporting football. I think that is arguably the best bit of it. The community, the conversations. That ultimately is why I do the watch-alongs and the fans' voice on the West Ham way, because I've met some tremendous people over the last couple of months. I've only been doing it for I think 3 months now. But you think about Corey, Dennis, Charles, and then the guys on the fans' voice. It's Bill. I could go on and on and on. Ollie. It's just to have conversations with them about West Ham. And to have conversations with other fans about VAR when they've netted a goal in the last minute and it turns out to be handball and it's the worst thing in the world, or they get a penalty kind of allowed, or especially if you're a Man United fan and it's the best thing ever to have those conversations and those opinions. I could talk about football 24/7. I think most people could, and that is the beauty of it.
Yeah, it is. You're totally right. You're totally right. And actually, everyone I've had on the channel, whether it's like not a normal fan, but someone who's not involved in YouTube or one of the YouTube guys, or any of the guys from West Ham Way, or I don't know, the Hammers Chat guys or whatever. Everyone is just sound. Everyone's such a nice bloke, and it's just lovely to. It is I'm relatively new in the community as well. I mean, we only started this channel up in May, I think, May or June, something like that. I think it was May, and I've been fully embraced into the community. And we wouldn't. I think literally now. I think we're over something ridiculous, like 9,000 subscribers now, which is mental. Someone did mention it just to me about 5 minutes ago before we came on. 9,038. Whoa! Get in there.
Road to 10K.
Yeah, the road.
Then get the merch out.
Yeah, exactly. The merch is coming out and it's 10K. There we go. But yeah, no, it's lovely. As you said, it's nice because you meet new people virtually. I mean, I haven't met any of them really, like physically.
Yes, I mean, same, obviously.
I know, obviously for you, I haven't met anyone. I mean, the only person I probably met since was Jack. And literally, we probably saw each other for about 10 seconds at the Man United game. Because obviously he was doing the live from London Stadium with him and Chris and Colton, and I think Ginger was doing it. And I literally walked past him. Now, and I had to dash to the toilet and back up. And I was like, Jack, hey, all right, how you doing, mate? Yeah. See, so that was it. That's the only iteration we've had, physical iteration. It's crazy how you sort of, but it's a new world, isn't it? It's especially for you guys, especially for you. Obviously, you do meet everyone virtually, and that's probably how you meet a lot of people for a long time until. You come over here or they go over there. So
exactly,
it's the world we live in now, unfortunately. Right, let's talk about year 11. I'm going to go and pick my pen lid up quickly. That was exciting. My chair made a little squeak as well. So as I said, with the 11, you can pick whoever you want, whatever criteria you want, Angus. The only rule is you have to be alive to have seen them play. You said it's probably going to, for you're probably a fan from 2015 onwards. So probably the last 6 or 7 years are going to be your players, which is cool. Don't matter.
It is.
It's all good.
It is.
And that's good because actually, I think it's important to give people a, sort of the relatively newer players. I mean, you've probably a few which others pick, but actually, it tends to be the older players that are picked anyway. So I think actually it's good to shine a spotlight on some favourite players from the last 7 years. Thinking actually, when all's said and done, we've had some good players come through our doors.
We have.
We have. Right, let's start off in goal. Who's in goal for the Walters 11?
All right. So we'll start off very quickly by saying some of these are just on, kind of their performances altogether, and some are just individual memories.
Yeah.
So in goal, I've gone for Adrian. Now, I think probably Fabianski, if you look at it over the course of the last 5-6 years, is probably the one over, performances, in particular his penalty saves that you'd put in. But Adrian, for me, just because of the memories, especially now that he's moved to Liverpool and he probably isn't cutting it quite as well. He's not as receptive with the fans. Obviously, I want him to do well, but it does give you that sense of he's a West Ham player.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, he spent majority of his career at West Ham. And memories for me, I mean, there's loads with him. He was quite an action-packed player, but the one for me was the Everton penalty in the FA Cup at the Bowl-In. I remember watching that whole penalty shootout and the whole Joel Robles drama as well with the, he was giving our players a bit of stick and Adrian was giving it back, and suddenly to come out on top and do it the way that he did it as well, take the gloves off and be like, I'm putting this straight in, and to do it and to celebrate in front of the fans, I think was amazing. Just a West Ham type of player, I think, loved by the fans. Again, a couple of, it had a quite an exciting time with us, a couple of mistakes as you do, a couple of red cards as well. But just someone that was quite likable off the pitch as well.
Yeah, very much so.
It seems like quite a nice guy, and so he's in there for me. Fabianski as well, obviously tremendous. But at the end of the day, he's done it before at Swansea, and he'll probably do it again once he leaves West Ham. Yeah. Whereas Adrian, was with us for a couple of years, and was our number one keeper for a lot of that time.
He was, and I've always had that sort of, that sliding doors moment, and obviously with that Everton game, it was obviously so sort of iconic, really. You're doing that, like mic drop type thing. Could you imagine if he actually missed it?
Wouldn't have been great. I wouldn't want to know how the rest of that.
And goalkeepers can't put their gloves on properly. They have to get someone else to put their gloves on because obviously it's usually so tight, and so you'd have to get like Mark Noble to put his gloves back on or something. It'd be terribly embarrassing. But no, it was that sort of crazy goalkeeper which we had little for a while. We had some crazy goalkeepers, and like people like Bernard Lamar, sort of in this sort of early 2000s, so they're sort of mid 90s. We had some crazy goalkeepers then. A lot of sort of lone goalkeepers after Ludo until maybe Robert Green came along. Adrian was pretty much in that mold, that's for sure. Right, we'll put him in goal. Okay. You go for the team as you've got them written down, Angus, or are you going to go for a man? You go.
Sure. All right. Well, I'll go to left back now.
Sure.
I've gone with Cress.
Yeah.
I think, to be fair, for me, it's a bit of a no-brainer because no one else has played left back pretty much over my time. Obviously, you've got Arthur there, but as a traditional left back and someone that is just there season in, season out, he's the obvious pick. I think probably we've come to learn that maybe he's better in a back five as a left-sided centre back.
Yep.
But the beauty of it is, he was an England capped player. Obviously it was only one cap, but
still counts.
The individual, yeah, exactly. And that was off his performances as a left back, as a West Ham player. And the last season at the Bowl-In, he was great. The season before, he was amazing as well. And you think about some of the individual memories. I remember the goal against Leicester in the 2-2 draw at the King Power Stadium. In that season, the last season at the Bowl-In, which obviously Leicester went on to win the title. I think we're down to 10 men. Jamie Vardy got sent off for simulation or something like that. So it was one of those games.
Yeah.
And I remember him sticking at top bins, and we went 2-1 up in like the 85th minute. A beautiful goal. obviously went on to concede a late penalty. But if you think about the Chelsea goal last season and the United free kick, those are the three memories for me of Cress that just stand out. And someone that individually is a solid left back, but in terms of the one-off 15 seconds of brilliance, I think he also slots in there for me.
Yeah, definitely. No, I totally agree. He's had this sort of renaissance, hasn't he, really? With Moyes going back into the back three and yeah, it's just like with Cress. It's like, I mean, to be honest, he had like on Match of the Day, you had people like Gary Lineker suggesting, an England call up again if Southgate plays a back three, and it's like, really? Surely we got better at left centre backs than Aaron Cresswell, bless him. But he's brilliant, and his delivery. I mean, obviously with Snod going, his deliveries and his corners and free kicks into the box and his crossing into the box is going to be even more needed now because. Obviously that we've lost a massive. Well, he wasn't really playing much this season, but he was a fantastic dead ball situation in terms of Snoddies. But no, Cressy's, and he's getting the goal and he's getting the assists, and he's a good one to get in the AL Fantasy Football League. He's a good one in the AL Fantasy Football League because we don't concede many. And he's always involved in an assist, usually once a game or something ridiculous like that at the moment. So, yeah. Totally agree. Right, Chris is in.
He's had a tremendous season so far as well. It's one of those things where we've seen a revival, and he's helping out the team tremendously as well.
Definitely. Right, go on then. Who's next, Angus?
Alrighties, left-sided centre back. I've gone for Angelo Bonner. So again, one that has literally been there since I started watching West Ham. Tremendous character off the pitch, and also a rock in defence. Again, individually, some of the goals he scored, the FA Cup against Liverpool final year at the Bowl-in, that's one that stands out for me. But he's just probably a hammer of the year. In fact, an easy hammer of the year contender for me at the moment, and for majority of us. Great game against Everton, and again, he's just cutting it in, week out. Tremendous performances, and someone that has again seen a bit of a revival. He wasn't. Yeah. He wasn't in that team for a bit with Diop and Balbuena being that back two, but has just come in and has been so perfect for us. I think that's a bit of a no-brainer as well. Well, I do say no-brainer. There is one that is harsh to miss out as I name my right-sided centre back, because we have had some good ones over the last 5-6 years.
Yeah.
But Oggie's just been there and cuts it in again, week in, week out. Tremendous performances.
Yeah, I agree. And again, he's like, I mean, last year I think obviously he was very close to getting. He was second, wasn't he? Hammer of the year, I think, to Deck. And to be honest, I think it's probably going to be them two again. Really, to be perfectly honest, maybe Souček, potentially in that sort of in the running at the moment as well. But yeah, he just seems to have matured so much as a player, and it's like, he was always had a mistake in him. He seemed to sort of has rubbed that bit of his game out again, and as he got the Italian call up, but obviously we got injured, so he couldn't go. I just think he's a great. He said off the pitch, he seems a lovely bloke as well. But he's just solid, isn't he? No one's going to get him out of the team.
That's all you can ask for a centre back.
Exactly. Yeah.
No, so someone that again probably just gets in because without him this season, obviously he's been with us for a number of years, and again, as I said, it has been tremendous for us over the course of a number of seasons. But if you think about this season alone, without him, I think we'd be struggling. Obviously, we saw a glimpse of Diop when he came back into the team and ultimately gave away a goal. And so he's just that rock in defence for us at the moment, and pivotal to our season and how it's panned out thus far.
Yeah, no, I agreed. Okay, Oggie's in. So right-sided centre-back, Craig Dawson. No, Connor, who is it?
No, not indeed. This one was the toughest pick, I think, going between Ginge and Winston Reid. I have gone for Winnie, purely because I think to score the last goal at Upton Park, that is a memory that will be cherished by all West Ham fans. Just again, individual performances, that last 15 minutes was one that will be remembered forever. And I think also, coming from from my part of the world, essentially, obviously a New Zealander, but also does have the Danish heritage in him as well. Played for Mcginley for a bit, and I think he's a citizen with Denmark, so he could have picked between Denmark and New Zealand. And yeah, so someone that has come from my part of the world and was just a rock for us as well, particularly in that last season at the Boleyn, but also came in clutch in other games. You think about the goal against Millwall and stuff. So just someone that you really want for moments of magic. I remember him scoring the goal at the London Stadium, the one outside the box, where he's just literally 90th minute, he's just had a ping. It's kind of, I think it came out to him from a corner, and we got 3 points from that game. So just, individual performances from him are ones that will be remembered by me for a long time, in particular the final goal at the Boleyn.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, and you're right. He's one of those guys who's just, when he wasn't injured, when he was on his game, he was just as good as anyone else, in terms of defenders in the Premier League. He was just, unfortunately with injuries, he never. Although the flip side is, if he wasn't injured all the time, he wouldn't be playing for West Ham. I don't think. I think he'd be playing for a higher, team that are better, more consistent, in the league than us necessarily. But he was brilliant, and he was obviously, before he started sort of getting into West Ham, when we signed him, there was a big hoo-ha because he was a World Cup winner, he was a World Cup defender, and it was a New Zealand World Cup winner rather necessarily Spanish World Cup winner or a French. It was the New Zealand centre back. So, and he struggled that first year, and obviously went down that year. And then in the year in the Championship, really made him a really good player. And then he sort of, obviously Arsenal and Liverpool, I think, was sniffing around from the time. So, you've got to be good if those two are having a look at you. So, right, okay, I'll put Winnie in. Okay, right back then. Who's going to be right back then, Angus?
Well, it was between two for me. The first one was Carl Jenkinson, obviously on loan from Arsenal. So perhaps his the fact he's a loan probably put him into doubt first off. But now that we've got Vladimir Coufal as well, I think it's a no-brainer. In terms of traditional right backs, again, those two are probably. I can't remember another traditional right back that has been in our side consistently since that final year at the Boleyn. So to have someone like Vladimir Coufal now, who's just slotted into that team so perfectly, and is Mr. Consistent, is tremendous for us and has helped us enormously this season. I was banging on about the consistency earlier in the side and the performances and the results. I think he's a massive part of that, and has something in attack as well, can whip in a ball, and just a no nonsense right back as well. So. Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if you have a different say, but since that final year at Upton Park, I can't think of another right back really that we've had consistently.
Not really consistently. I mean, obviously we had Sab, but I think with Sab, I think he was just bless him, he was about 3 seasons too old for us now.
Yeah.
And we joined. But we had Christ. I remember we had a period where we'd have sort of retiring left backs, and they were like 37s. So we had like Stuart Pearce, we had Nigel Winterburn, Chris Powell, Rufus Brevet, and these guys were literally at the end of their careers, and we were doing a season, 18 months or so, playing at West Ham, and you could get away with it then, in terms of having sort of an old fullback. Nowadays, it's a young man's game being a fullback, and I think Pablo, for being such a fantastic professional, didn't really. If you looked at his West Ham career, it was toward it was the end. It wasn't in the same ilk as his Man City career. But yeah, I think with Coufal, he's just. He reminds me a lot of an old right back we used to have called Tim Breaker. In that Tim Breaker was always a 7, always a 7 out of 10 every game. He came on the pitch and he would always play at least a 7, sometimes up to an 8 or a 9, but always a 7. Very rarely, if ever, a 6. And Coufal is the same. Tim used to bomb down the right wing, the overlap on the right winger all the time as well. He'd come up for a goal as well occasionally, a bit like what Coufal's doing now. I think he's going to be one of those players where you look back, hopefully, in a couple of years' time, thinking he was solid. He was a good right back for us. You know, in the same way I look at Tim Breaker now and didn't realise how consistent he was and how sort of a strong player he was. And I see a lot of parallels between how Kufal plays to Tim as well. So no, I totally agree.
In comparison with Zabra as well, he's got the turn of pace on him.
Yeah.
So I think he dealt with Zaha in the Palace game really well. Whereas I think Zabba got caught out a tiny bit on that right side. You think about someone like Marcus Rashford who caught him out a couple of times. Mind you, one of his best games was in that 3-1 Man United win at London Stadium where Yama got a goal, Antonio. So yeah, that was a great game, and Felipe obviously, to which Zabba got the assist. But yeah, again, just a tiny bit at risk of getting caught out. Amazing in his City days, obviously, and would slot into that team right away if it was with West Ham. But ultimately, his memories are with Manchester City, whereas Vladimir Soufal is, has a future at West Ham and, could be with us for God knows how many years because he's tremendous at the moment.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think you're right with Zabba. He would have a good game, and then he would get. But now, with wingers and I think it might have been like the Liverpool game or something. There was a game last season. No, it wasn't. It was Watford. And Sarr. It was Sarr. He played left wing and he literally tore him a new one that day.
Yeah.
And it was really sad to see. It was sad to see, really, because he was such a good player. Get sort of absolutely and obviously he can be a wily old pro. And that Man United game, he was a wily old pro, and he knew he wasn't going to beat Rashford for pace. So he puts his studs down the back of his legs and just has a handful of shell. The old stuff. But that's a bit old fashioned now, I think. Just that bit old fashioned. But yeah, Kufal, I agree. He's going to be he's a tremendous player, and for wherever it was, a few million quid, absolute bargain. When you look at that bloke, Sebastian Halla. He was like £20 million. He's gone to Ajax for. We got Soufal and Souček in for that money, pretty much. So. There you go. It's how you spend your money. Right. Okay. So Soufal is in. Let's go into midfield.
Well, from one Czech to another, we've gone for Thomas Souček in CDM. I've got 2 CDMs in the team, but yeah, got the Czech link, Czech mates. I think obviously there's some great CDMs over the years. Nobes obviously is one that stands out for me as well in terms of. Since that last season at the bowling. But if you think before that as well, some great ones. But yeah, tremendous so far. Again, got him on a bargain, got the link with Vladimir Soufal. So I think if you're treating my Hammers 11 team as a team itself, it's got the chemistry there, it's got the bond. And yeah, again, just like a perfect box-to-box midfielder. And someone that, as David Moyes said, needs to figure out a way to get into that box more because he's just so lethal. And came up clutch against Everton, scored the goal against United, has scored numerous goals for us this season. I think is he our highest scorer in the Premier League this season?
Like
I think.
Yeah, I don't surprise me.
Yeah, and just someone that settled in really well. And again, Mr. Consistent. You look at the consistent performances and results from us over the last year. A lot of that is down to those two. And yeah, just a perfect box-to-box midfielder in my opinion for West Ham, and someone that we're incredibly fortunate to have in our team. As you think about who would make up that position, perhaps if we didn't have him, Nobes can get caught out for a turn of pace, and obviously doesn't have that aerial threat that Tommy Souček does. And you're talking about FPL teams earlier with Crass, perfect one to have in your FPL team. Cheap, gets the goals, a bit like Lundstrom last season.
It's so true. It's one of those ones where it's like the best kept secret. It's like people would. I remember like non-West Ham fans on my Facebook. Who do you reckon? And I was like Souček. And really? Went Souček, because it's like he's a midfielder and he'll come forward and they go, he's quite cheap as well. And he's like, I know he's quite cheap. But he's I just think he's a fantastic player, isn't he? I mean, I remember the first, obviously he's been here for a year. Remember that first game he played, within 5-10 minutes, you thought we've got a player. There's certain players you come on the pitch, and just seems like he's played in that for us forever. He just slotted straight in. Him and Deck, the way they work together, I honestly think they're possibly the two of the best midfield pairings as a two in the Premier League. Really, realistically, you look at sort of the top teams. Yeah, you've got you've got people like Højbjerg at Tottenham, but who's he partnering up with? As a duo, they've got this great understanding. And it was a shame, obviously, when Nobes plays, it disrupts their understanding. It's almost like they're feeling that they've got to, do a bit more covering, whereas they have this sort of one go up, one sort of hangs back, and it's great to see as a two. They just really complement each other. And no, I think he's brilliant, and just hopefully we keep hold of him, but again, Souček's one of those players, and again, we'll talk about that. We'll talk about Halla. It's like we lost half our money on him. We wouldn't lose half our money on Thomas Souček. I tell you, we could flip him for 3 times the value of what we paid for him at least now. Do you know what I mean? I think 50 million.
Yeah, that is the thing with money in the Premier League. Obviously, the teams with the most money seem to do the best. There are outlier seasons. Obviously, it'll probably be one of those. Well, it will be one of those top 6 teams that ultimately wins the Premier League this season.
Yeah.
Probably at the moment between Liverpool, Man City, and Man United. But a lot has to be said for the way that the money is invested. I think with Seb, we weren't quite sure what we were getting. We're obviously getting a player that delivered in the Bundesliga, but the Premier League is a different story. We're not playing him in the right system. But loads of people saying this is what we need to do. The fact is, there are 2 questions there. If we can play him in the right system, and the second thing is if that system actually works in the Premier League.
Yep.
Because Premier League defenders are well equipped with dealing with those aerial threats and dealing with the tight spaces in the box, whereas the turn of pace is the thing that can really hurt teams. You think about the best Premier League strikers over the last 5-6 years, Vardy, Aubameyang. I could go on. The exception probably in there is someone like even Danny Ings has a really good turn of pace on him. And that's the reason why players like Olivier Giroud, who are arguably, he's one of the best strikers in the world, can cut it for France and is in that team, in every major tournament over the last, God knows how many years, but struggles in the Premier League because he doesn't have that turn of pace on him to beat those defenders. If it all comes down to trying to get past him.
Yeah.
He can find the space in the box, but in a one-on-one situation, which is most of the time the way that it ends up panning out. You think that's why Mickey's so good for us, and Arnie, who did it quite well for us over the course of a couple of seasons. It's that turn of pace that is crucial as a Premier League striker. So, someone like Thomas Souček, the CDM position is founded in the hard work, the determination, the physicality, his height as an aerial threat. I think with him, you knew what you were going to get. And, he's delivered for us.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think and he can carry it. He's got another week to eat potato salad, so he's all right, man. That's brilliant. It's so funny.
His interviews are absolutely amazing. The one against City, when he got the goal that was, there was a bit of handball contention in there. The Antonio bicycle kick for which he got the assist. And then obviously after the Everton game, just very fun to watch.
He is. It's just like he seems to be him and that's why I like the two of them, because like the fact that Soufal feels impelled every game to have a picture with him and Thomas on the pitch, like every game, it's like, yeah, we get it. You both. He's almost like I said it. Someone mentioned the other day that it was almost like he's won a competition. Soufal, that's why he has to have a picture.
Spend a day with your favourite professional footballer.
Yeah, every game, and I love that. And I love the fact that they say they always have a smile on their face, and they seem to be enjoying football. To be fair, someone like Souček, they were playing Champions League football, and. They're not playing at the moment, but they're playing at a higher league than obviously the Czech league, and we could have a whole bunch more of them maybe coming soon. So
That is the amazing thing, the fact that we've actually got both in and they know each other,
Yeah.
their ins and outs. And they play, quite close to each other on the pitch as well, so they can establish that connection in terms of passes and runs. And if you think about someone like, in particular, Soufal, not having Tommy Soucek there could be a different story. So the fact that they've both got each other to rely on, you've obviously got your British part of the dressing room, but for those two to have each other is crucial. And just to be fair, just a really good buy, both of them.
Definitely. Right. Okay. Tommy Soucek's in. Who's next?
All right. We've got like a left-sided cam. So many people refer to it as like a lamb position, a bit where like Ben Rama plays at the moment if he's not out wide. So I've gone for Dimi Payet. I think bit of a. Oh no, sorry. We're going. No. We're going CDM. Second CDM. My apologies. Completely past me. All right. Yeah. So second CDM is Deck.
Yeah.
To be fair, I didn't really need to say his name because he just slots in there automatically for me.
Yeah, you just put him on there. You don't even check.
It's one of those ones where you don't need to say anything more than his name and that's it. But in terms of I touched on Dimmy, who we'll talk about later. Those two are probably on technical ability the two greatest players that I've seen so far at West Ham. Deck is just not only on the pitch but off the pitch, his leadership, the way he goes about his stuff, his confidence, just his technical ability, the fact that he got rejected by Chelsea and has had to do the hard work essentially to get back into that Premier League system. And then to go and strive like he's done over the last 5 years consistently as well is absolutely massive for us. And the longer we keep him at West Ham, obviously a no-brainer, the better. And, someone that, if Chelsea kind of turn their head somewhere else, could be a future captain for us for many, many years, obviously captain now. And, someone that has had Nobes, who misses out in my team, but is very close to rely on. I think Nobes has been a tremendous influence on him. And you see a lot of Nobes' both leadership and play style in Deck's game. But just someone that you think you could almost play him anywhere on the pitch and you're going to get a good performance from him. Yeah. Has that turn of pace to beat players for fun. And when he is on a run, he can just go for a really, really long run. You think about the Sheffield United game where we got the Snods goal that was disallowed, which I only watched back yesterday almost in tears because I remember watching that game at 4 a.m. and absolutely going wild when we scored the equaliser and seeing the away and the limbs. To have that ruled out for a goal like that was tremendously heartbreaking. But he just went for it. Deck just thought, stuff this, I'm going. And more times than not, he'll beat a player and he won't just beat one, he'll beat two or three. And, got a good strike on him as well, the Watford goal. I think the thing about the Watford goal as well, which stands out for me, is the fact that he ran over and showed his support to David Moyes.
Definitely.
And, almost a sign of things to come in that sense because, Moyes has had a really good start to this season at West Ham, and you can see the players playing for the manager as well. You can see the way that he gathered around the team after the win at Everton and said that was massive, and gave everyone hugs. And even Deck was saying that is absolutely massive. So those two together seem like quite a good pairing, and David Moyes knows what Deck can do, and similarly Deck seems to show his support for David Moyes. So
definitely.
Perfect. But Deck for me, if you're talking world-class CDMs, he could slot into any team, especially talking Premier League. Yeah. He's just, what you're going to get from him week in, week out. He's one of the standout performers every single week. And it's one of those things where, you go to Chelsea and you pray he has a good game, but at the same time you're thinking, don't be screwing worldies, all right? Not sure how that'll
I mean, it's incredible when you think. I was listening to one of he was doing an interview for Sky Sports the other day, talking about his sort of journey. And at 14, obviously Chelsea got rid of him, and he was living in digs at West Ham. Monday to Friday, 14-year-old living on his Todd, basically, about his mum and dad. They'd come for the weekends and his mum would be crying and he'll be crying and, all this stuff. It just shows you, how much he wanted to be a footballer, and he seems to be like loving every aspect of it at the moment. He's loving being captain. He's loving being interviewed and doing like all the podcasts and Sky Sports and every game he just seems to go up another level as a player. And I just think we've literally just scratched the surface with this boy. He's only going to get better. Only going to get better. He's got an incredible engine on him. And what I love about him is he's not a model footballer. He's not like you see some of these guys now, and if you look at when he's walking around the pitch, he slumps when he walks around the pitch like he's a 20-year-old bloke. Just walking down he just like does this like. And then as soon as he gets the ball, he's like footballer. It's really funny. Someone pointed it out to me, and I literally watch him like at the games now. Literally, I do Deck watch, and I watch Deck. He's like a little teenager sometimes. I love just his enthusiasm for the game. It's just infectious.
He plays it like a young teenager in the sense that you can see the passion and the when someone else gives the ball away, for instance, he's having a go. Well, he's not having a go. That's the thing with Deck. He doesn't have a go, but you can see that passion. And I know someone that works in a media capacity in football journalism in the UK, and said hands down, Deck is one of the best players to work with off the pitch as well. And I think that goes for a lot these days. To be fair, he's one of his best friends, Mason Mount, is also similar. But some of the stories from other professional footballers across the league are just interesting to hear in terms of it goes a long way to be as professional off the pitch as you are on it, and Deck is just the ultimate professional.
And also it's like he when he has an interview, he like the interviews are basically a sort of symbolization of what we are as fans. When we've won, he's buzzing. Like we are. We're really happy when we beat Everton 1-0. When we lose, we're gutted. He looks gutted, and he'll say, "I'm gutted." He's and there's some sort of really naive honesty there, which I hope he never gets media trained out of him, because it just makes it so much so much relatable for a fan to a footballer, and at a time where I don't think footballers are particularly relative to fans. It's not like there's not that connection that they used to be, particularly sort of, from in my like fan career, the early 90s, late 90s, that connection between the fans and the players. It's a bit like it's going back to the old school with Deck. There's that connection between him. Even like on Instagram, he takes pictures of how shit he is at darts and stuff like that. I love that. I love that because it just shows that like he's a normal bloke. He's not living in some. I don't know. He probably is living in a lovely apartment, but he doesn't show it. Do you know what I mean? He's showing a dartboard and he's going to Nando's and things like that, which we would all do as with his age and had his money and stuff. But no, I love him. He's a great guy as well.
You very quickly touched on quite an important point there, I think, with in relation to seeing his passion when we lose and his frustration. I think if you think about the first couple of seasons at the Olympic Stadium or the London Stadium, however you want to call it, you think about players in there that really did show the passion, with the exception of Nobes, who wasn't in that team consistently. There were some defeats that we'd have where you just think, how is this going to change? Whereas with Deck in the team, you see the passion and you know that there are just some things that won't go down well in that dressing room, which is perfect, again, as a fan. He lives through those games and those losses like he is a fan, and that's perfect for us.
Definitely. And also, the fact is, I think everyone forgets the fact that he's only 20, whatever, he's 21, 22, something like that. And he's played so many games for us already. And, he's in essence our captain. And it's incredible when you think, 20-odd-year-old boy, he's a boy, really. He's captain of our football club. And but there's no hesitation that he's our captain. Do you know what I mean? It's no like,
100%.
It's straight away, he's our captain.
It's one of those things where Nose obviously has been the squad captain for so many years now, but it almost feels weird when he comes on as a substitute and Deck hands the armband over. Now, I'm not saying in any sense that Nose shouldn't be the squad captain, because he should be, But it's just, Deck is so settled as a captain now that when you do see someone like Nobes come on, who has had that armband for so many years, there is a slight sense of, I don't know, there's an element of it which is like, this is Deck is, is that guy that is there week in, week out, and it feels weird to hand the armband over.
Yeah, and there's a divide on Twitter, isn't there? Really, between people who think he shouldn't do it and people think he should do it. I'm in the he should do it because he shouldn't have to do it, but he does it. It's his choice. He has, it hasn't been dictated that we don't think it's been that, Mark's the captain. He does it out of respect, and I think that shows so much more character as a man than if he just carried on. It's almost like if he carried on as a skipper when Mark came on, it's like, well. And also, there's dissension in the ranks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It shows what we were saying about the team spirit as well. No, you're the club captain. Although it's only 5 minutes, you're in charge, boss. I'm keeping it warm for you, type thing. And I think that shows just more, what a good, honest man he is as a player. And as a teamman as well, as a squad player as well. Right. Okay. Let's put Declan Rice in. Let me write that down. Okay, who is next?
All right, yeah, left-sided attacking mid, Demi Payet.
Who's going to be? Yeah,
finally going on to him. Just again, one of those players where you don't need to say a lot. I don't think some of those memories from that first season in particular. Obviously, you think about the Middlesbrough goal at the London Stadium, something like that. Great goal, and just skipped past players for fun, and one of the goals of the season. But there was something really special about watching him play at Upton Park. I think someone that could turn it on against whoever, and played with tremendous confidence. And I'll never forget the goal against Crystal Palace, where the free kick goal, where he just, no matter what defenders seemed to do, when he was on form, he was on form. That was he was one of the best players in the world that year, 100%, no doubt. I'd put him in the top 5, perhaps. So for someone from West Ham to slot in there is incredibly special. And obviously someone that didn't leave perhaps in the best circumstances. So he'll have to live with that, I guess, when he thinks back on his memories at West Ham. And the sad thing is as well for him, if he stayed in the Premier League, and obviously it was for family reasons and whatnot, so you can't complain, I don't think, at the end of the day. And my memories of Dimmy won't, in 10 years or whatever, won't really be tainted by his move, albeit it was frustrating to watch and the way he did it. But the memories themselves, he could have been, if he'd stayed in the Premier League, could have been one of those Premier League icons across the decade, because he just turned it on whenever he wanted to, it seemed.
Without a doubt. And as you said, it was almost like it was an honour to have him play for us. Someone that good,
100%.
And unfortunately, maybe in my life, I don't think we'll ever see a Ballon d'Or nominee ever to play for West Ham. Maybe, who knows? But it was a pleasure, and if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't have had that last season at Upton Park. And as you said, the way he left, but I think nowadays, it's the modern footballer. That's the way they happen. It's like, Christ, you watch. It was on Sky Sports the other day with the Panathinaikos. It was the Royal Antwerp bloke, the forward who wants to go Panathinaikos.
Rocked up in that other shirt.
It's like,
unbelievable.
Timmy didn't turn up in a Tottenham shirt at Chadwell Heath and wanted to leave, did he? No, it's like, he wanted to go back, and it's the modern footballer, how they sort of they look at it. It's not necessarily it's a career rather than a passion, really, and I think it's a frustration with people. And also those mercurial players. I mean, Payet, Arnautovic. Even before that, I mean, we only got Di Canio because he pushed over a referee, and these sort of genius enigma players always have another side of them. Ravel Morrison, there's loads of them who've got this other side, and he had another side as well. I mean, he left for Marseille in the same way that he left West Ham, and Marseille welcomed him back with open arms. That's how much he meant to them as well. And although he was like, oh, he's a snake and stuff, I guarantee at the end of that season, say he were to come back, we'd have probably let him come back because he was that good. Certain players that you sort of, go, okay, fair enough. And I mean, Dimmy, for example, he's, despite the fact he was only around for 18 months, he's in something like 40% of people's Hammers 11s, which is mental. I think he's the top midfielder, and that's it. It's taking to people like Mark Noble and Billy Bonds and people like that. It's mental. But yes, he made such an impact and just such a.
Some of the things he did with the ball at his feet were just unbelievable. Some of the goals that he scored. Again, the Middlesbrough goal, the Palace goal, the United goal in the FA Cup at Old Trafford, where he, scored a 30-yard free kick, tipped the post and in past David De Gea, and that could have been the start of a really good finish to the FA Cup for us, because had we held on there, it could be a completely different story. Obviously, we went to the replay, but. Just some of the individual memories are unbelievable from that season, and the first season at the London Stadium. I think everyone could go on about him for ages, because he was world class.
He was a phenomenal player, and we were fortunate to have him in his prime. It was a proper, if he had a FIFA card, it would be, he would be a prime, player. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It was like in his pomp, and that never happens at West Ham very often. Okay, Dimmy's in. Who's next, man? Who's next?
Right, right-sided attacking mid. Probably a tiny bit out of position. We've gone for Manu. Just the link with Dimmy as well is quite crucial in this pick. I mean, again, individual moments. The goal against Spurs this season.
Yeah,
we don't really need to touch on it, apart from what a goal, and I was screaming at 3 a.m. in the morning. So that goes to show how good it was. I think that game was absolutely massive. The scenes when that goal went in was tremendous. The funny thing is, probably if he misses that, if he sprays that wide with the final kick of the game, the story about Manu could be completely different.
Definitely.
After his injury, he struggled quite a bit, but he's really seemed to come to grips with what he can do on a football pitch again over the last couple of months. Obviously, when you do get an injury like that, the fear is that, you're going to re-aggravate it if you try and go past too many people, or, and you do become a target at the end of the day as well for opposition defenders. But he's slowly starting to become somewhat of the player that he was at the final season at the Bowling. Again, the way that we got him as well, if you talk about bargains and you think about Dimmy, you think about Tommy Souček, Soufal, to get him on loan like that, and for him to tear it up with Dimmy in that first season. Some of the goals he scored were amazing as well. And, someone that probably won't get the credit that he deserves speak about the final year at the Bowling, purely because Dimmy was in that team and was one of the best players in the world at that time. But Manu as well was incredibly tremendous for us. And just someone that, has scored some really nice goals for us over the last couple of years, and, was our starting 10 for a while in there, and got the Argentina call up to the World Cup squad, and obviously was unlucky to miss out through injury.
Again,
someone that, again, plays with freedom, knows what he can do with the ball, and knows where other players are, and has that turn of quality where for 10 seconds he can change a game.
And as you said, he's again a guy who's unfortunately got injured, and I thought, again, if he was not injured, never injured, he'd probably be playing for us as well. It'd be a similar thing, he might be at Liverpool or somewhere like that. But he seems to be getting a bit more back into his old self a little bit, or as you said, or reassessing what he can do physically with, he's comfortable with doing, because obviously he doesn't get injured again. And I think once someone gets injured, they tend to sort of favour a certain style of football which suits their injury. And I think last couple of games where he's come on, he's looked really, really sharp, and he was a good player. He still is a good player. You can see there's still a player there.
I mean, I think for him, if you think about the the best starting 11 that we could put out at the moment. For me, he slots in there. You got the two CDMs of Deck and Souček, and then you've got him central, Ben Rama on the left, Bowen on the right, Antonio up top. Now you think about those four, just players that can do a lot and offer a lot for us in attack, and with the defensive cover, that helps a lot. And I think that's why we're starting to see the revival of Manu, at least a tiny bit over the course of the start of the season, because he's got that defensive cover and he's got those ball playing midfielders that can just pass it to him, and he can work his magic. If you think about Tommy Souček pushing up a tiny bit and Deck, they can just find passes, and when you find Manu in space and Manu decides that he wants to turn it on, he can really turn it on, and that's crucial for us.
Definitely. Right, let's put Manu in. Let's write it down so don't forget. Okie dokie. Who is next then?
Right, we've gone for a front two. Now this pick, quick disclaimer, I wouldn't have him back at the club. Okay, so I think we know who we're going for now.
Okay, let me just find Jonathan Caleri.
We've gone for Marco or Muggo or however you want to call him, but Arnie's in there for me. Yeah. Just someone that, if you think about it, he might not be in that team if we didn't have the problems that we had with Seb. But when you watch Seb play, and to be fair, I will say Seb's a world-class player, and I hope he tears it up at Ajax, because he's really struggled, and a lot of that hasn't been through his own fault. But yeah, just Arnie was someone that could really intimidate defenses, had the turn of pace, and his presence was really felt probably more than someone like Sebastian Halla, even though physically he isn't the guy that Seb is. But just, someone that really irritated opposition defenders and opposition fans. And, the ironic thing is the way that he came to West Ham is the way that he ultimately left.
Yeah.
The goal against Stoke that he scored. He had like 10 chances in that first half, and finally he put one away and, celebrated like you would expect someone like Marco, unfortunately, almost to celebrate. But ultimately the reason that he was so good on the pitch is because his personality off it is just the exact same. It's just someone that
he's a bastard, isn't he? He's a bastard. That's
exactly. Yeah. And that does unfortunately go a long way in Premier League attacks. Yeah.
It's true. So, he's a bastard, and he's your bastard. He's all good when he's your bastard, but when he's playing for another team, he's there. You hate him because he's and he played off that. And he played exactly, and we loved, and it doesn't matter what how he left or whatever. When he was playing for us, we loved the fact that he was our bastard, because he did the way he intimidated. You're right, he intimidated defenders. That goal when he was it the Burnley goal when he turned?
It was the Burnley goal, in the Burnley goal,
in his face or whatever it was.
Yeah.
After we loved that.
That's the thing,
we loved that, and so he
made his presence felt, and if you had a mistake in you as a centre back, he wasn't going to live it down. No. And he certainly made the most of some of his chances. You think about the 1-0 against Chelsea. I think that might have been his first goal for the club. Great finish on him, turn of pace, as I said, which is crucial as a number 9, and someone that unfortunately probably won't go down in the good books for West Ham fans. Definitely not my good books. And to be fair, I think majority of West Ham fans won't see him in a good light. But for what he did at the club in terms of his attacking prowess when he was with us, he does slot into this team.
I think it's a shame, because I think with Marco, I think another season, another 18 months, and he'd be up there with a lot of modern day. In terms of modern day Hammer's greats, because he really was. I think he had all the composite bit. He threw his prams out, the toys out the pram, bit like Di Canio would do. He was nasty. He was quick. He was strong. He would, if there was a 1-on-1, he ain't going to trip over his own feet like Halla did and score. That would have been a goal against Man United. And he's the ideal person for the David Moyes formation, and that's the thing. He is the ideal person, because Antonio, bless him, I don't think he's more. I always see Antonio as a right-sided forward rather than a man up on his own, and Arnie could play that man up on his own. It doesn't matter, obviously not now. We want him. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? I don't think he's coming back, but who knows? Football's a funny old game.
Yeah.
The way he left, you have to take it with a pinch of salt. Him as the player, he comes as a package. He comes with his brother. He comes with his personality, and as you said, the personality off the pitch is the same as the personality on the pitch. So there's some players who are psychos on the pitch and the most quiet, gentle people off the pitch. Like Hicks and Billy Bonds and people like that. But he was in the antithesis of what he was often on the pitch. There was no difference with Marco, and you can't have one without the other. So it was unfortunate, but he was crucial for that sort of first Moyes stint, really.
Exactly, and the fact that Moyes did so well to convert him from a left-sided almost midfielder, or a left winger at least, to a number 9 that again could just do it up top on his own. And I think Tom Edwards might have touched on it recently. He said that, again, ultimately, you could view it for family reasons. He's left for big money and he's got a family to take care of. And I touched on Dimmy and the fact that, perhaps in 10 years' time, the memories of Dimmy at West Ham and his individual moments of brilliance won't necessarily be overshadowed by his move. But for Marco, there just seems to be something different. I think ultimately we knew what we were getting. And again, he's just got that bastard attitude about him on the pitch, off the pitch. His brother, the less said about him, the better. And I think that is probably, if it comes down to anything, and the reason that he won't be remembered as a great West Ham player by some West Ham fans, it is ultimately because of the way that his brother acted, and that Marco seemed to follow that. But the video as well, either before or after the FA Cup defeat, on the same day, I think that is, again, when we're going through a really tough period, and to come out with something like that, you're just one of those moments where you shake your head and think, what the hell is going on at this football club?
Yeah, it was a weird one, wasn't it? It was to me, it was like a classic. They'd assumed we were probably going to win that game, and it would have been the icing on the cake. If we'd beaten Wimbledon that day, I think it was Wimbledon we lost to. If we'd won that game, or if we lost to, and then there was this, I'm staying, it would have been brilliant. But it's one of those things where I've done it before, where you schedule your YouTube videos up, and like we've got this will come out after. So we've got Freddie Picky coming on. He'd have come on a couple of days before your one comes up. And in that, we spoke about Sebastian Halla being a West Ham player. And so, and we actually said, he's probably going to be gone by the time we've done this. And he is gone. And so, Seb, makes no sense now, but it is just the way it happens, unfortunately. But he's a colourful character. And the thing is, he suits West Ham because he is a colourful character. And we like those bastard players. So, I still, I still rate him because I think he did a good job for us. The way he left, but as you said, the way Dimmy left and stuff, it's those players, mate. They're all the same. Right, okay. Arnie's in. We've got one more. Who are we gonna have, man?
We do. So I think the front four I've gone for Payet, Lanzini as the cams, Marco as the left-sided striker, and Mikel Antonio as the right-sided striker.
Yeah.
Now, Mickey, not only a tremendous footballer and tremendous striker like Marco was, but a tremendous human being as well, it seems. Someone that, again, like Deck, has had to work particularly hard, probably harder than Deck, coming from non-league to become the player he is today. Saved us last season, tremendous run of form. Has played everywhere for us, it seems, right back, right mid, but he settled in so well as a striker. And again, very, very similar play style to Marco, just got the strength on him, got the turn of pace on him, and can bully defenders at the end of the day if he chooses to. So yeah, someone that will be remembered very, very fondly by West Ham fans, I'm sure, and he'll probably end up finishing his career at West Ham. And what a player, what a tremendous servant for this football club. I think to do especially what he did last season, where we could be looking at a completely different story if he hadn't turned on and provided the run of form that he did. So yeah, just someone that we desperately need as well at the moment. I think when Seb came off in the Everton game and Mikel came on, he seems to provide a energy for the whole team.
Yeah.
So he's someone that really dictates the way that we play, and crucial this season. Brilliant at Upton Park the final year. Obviously, the goal in the United game was one that again will be remembered by quite a lot of people. But some of the other stuff that he did that season, and just again, one of the players that has seen a revival, perhaps, under David Moyes. You think about who we touched on: Cress and Bonner, and now Mickey and Manu as well. Hopefully, so 4 players there that spent time at the bowling.
And don't forget Arnie.
Exactly. Yeah, but in terms of players that are still playing for West Ham and played at Upton Park, and they've all kind of had a bit of a rough patch and are now starting to turn it on, which I think is amazing for West Ham. And beautiful player.
Really true. Yeah, and I totally agree with what you said, because he's gone through the hard yard, so to speak, in terms of being non-league all the way up. He seems to really cherish that. And again, a guy who's just been blighted by injury, and obviously we know he's a good player. We know he's got that sort of just devastating strength, but it was always he'd do it on 3 or 4 games in a row, wouldn't he? Then he'd be out for a couple of games and 3 or 4 games, and it, when he finally had a decent run without any injuries after restart last year, we saw what we've all known to be there. We know there's a strong guy. I mean, there's not many defenders who can keep up with him in terms of strength and in terms of pace as well. As you said, that Everton game, he came on and the team dynamic completely changed. It was a lot more zippier. It was a lot more playing, out to the wings and running behind. And that's what I think we do best at West Ham at the moment in terms of how we play our teams and how we set them up. So, and the way he's going, he signed a new contract, didn't he? I mean, I think he's 3rd or 4th of our all-time Premier League goal scorers, which is crazy when you think about it. But I think he could well take over. Yeah, he's 4th at the moment. So he's got Colton and Mark Noble and Paolo. He could well be our top scorer, Premier League goal scorer.
Yeah,
which is mental when you think of it. But
when he signed the contract as well recently, his ambitions, he made it very clear that he wants to go on and have a brilliant run of form and score as many goals as he can. I can't remember exactly what his goal was, but he wants to be pushing, and he wants to be bagging them, and he wants to be causing trouble for defenses. And just because he's got the money now and the contract, he made it very clear that by no means does that mean that he's going to settle down. He's going to try and cause more havoc, and that is what you want as a West Ham fan.
Yeah, totally.
Perfect player.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's a really nice bloke as well, which is just as important nowadays. But yeah, no, it's brilliant. And that's it, Angus. That's the 11, man.
Perfect.
Almost. He says almost Dennis levels of length of episodes.
I'm looking at the timer right now, and I'm thinking,
we can't stretch another 13 minutes out. But no. Angus needs some breakfast. But anyway, it's been lovely, mate. Thank you so much.
Awesome.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Ross. Really appreciate it, mate.
And good luck with all the YouTube. I mean, spoken about all the YouTube stuff. You're starting now, which is good, man.
Thank you. Yes, yeah.
Keeps you busy.
Starting the channel under my own name, and just gonna try and be putting out content as regularly as I can. The West Ham way for me is the thing that I love doing the most, though. Yeah. Again, I touched on the individuals in that growth and how great it is to have those conversations, and absolutely love that. But I'll look to try and produce a bit of Premier League content and see what I can do. So, yeah,
sounds good, man. Sounds good. Anyway, and thank you everyone for watching or listening, awesome. Or whatever you do. Give it a like, give it a share, and go to Angus's channel and show Angus some love as well. And from myself and from Angus, take care, everyone. Stay safe. Wash those hands. Come on, you irons, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Take care, everyone. Much love. Bye bye.